guys, welcome back to another video. Today I have the Civic jacked up because I was installing the new pads and rotors on the car. So while the front is jacked up, I figured I would switch out the CVT transmission fluid. And I do have the amsoil CVT transmission fluid, and this car, the transmission is called a continuous variable transmission. It is an automatic. Obviously, I don't know if you know how those I don't know if you know how those transmissions work, but they're pretty intense. So switching out the fluids on these cars are very important. And I was reading that you're supposed to switch out the fluid every 30,000 miles. My car has 90,000 miles and the transmission fluid has never been changed other than when it hit 30,000 miles. So it's been like double the time that I'm supposed to be switching it. I've also seen like on other people's content on the Civic transmission fluid that there's filters, but I couldn't find a lot of information on that. So I'm not doing the filter change in this video. I'm just doing the fluid flush. So leave comments down below if you guys know any information about how to change the filters on the Civics or how often you have to do it. It's not even in the service manual in the Civic. So I thought that was interesting. Usually you just follow what the service manual tells you. But anyways, I have 2 gallons of these. I think we just need 1 gallon per transmission flush, and it's actually quite simple. So the very first step, I already did this because I've done this a million times in other videos, but I did take out this tray, which was connected. I only have 4 of these screws left. I should probably go buy more, but you just turn them like half and they fall right out. It's the easiest thing ever with the flathead. And then there's also like a 10mm bolt, and then this thing just, you pop it back and it falls right on the ground. And then that brings us to underneath the car, which underneath here you can see like this is where the exhaust is, and this right here is your transmission pan. Obviously this is like the whole piece where that aluminum cover was, so when that comes off you'll expose this. So this is the drain bolt for the transmission fluid, and then like literally right above it right here is like the fill hole. It's not really the fill hole, it's like where you check to see if your fluid is filled up all the way. So this one we're actually going to fill it from like the engine bay compartment. In the Camaro we usually have to fill it through this hole, so it's kind of nice. This will just be like the check hole, and then we just drain it all out with this. Pretty simple. A lot of people get kits, but as long as you put on the washer back on the exact same way it came out, it'll probably be fine. But the important part is to get the fluid changed for sure. And then I recently changed out my oil. You can see how clean my oil filter is still. I'm just gonna use a little bit of the gum out brake cleaner just to clean around the bolts and clean up this area because it is kind of gross. I don't want all that stuff getting in once I take all the bolts out. Let that dry out. And then for this, it's just like a 3/8 inch drive, so it's really nice. We can actually use a breaker bar. All right, I drained. The fluid is draining out. I'm gonna pop the cap on the top, which will take the vacuum out of the stream, so it'll start pushing more fluid because it has air going through it. And it doesn't look like my bolt has a lot of gunk on it because these are magnetic. So I'm gonna clean that off, so I can put it back in. And I don't know where my washer went, so I'm gonna have to find that. We'll see how much this stream goes out. I open up the top. Yay! I took the little cap in the engine bay out, and this I literally just popped upwards. Goodbye, transmission fluid. It smells really gross.
It does, that's stinky.
It is stinkies. Clean that off. And I sprayed the bolt with a little bit of brake cleaner. All right, now that I drained all the liquid, I'm gonna use a 12 millimeter bolt, 12 millimeter wrench to get off the fill plug. So I put in the drain plug back in right here, and then I have the fill plug open there, because as we're filling up the fluid, we'll know when it's about full when that starts leaking out fluid, because that's like basically the max line of where you want the fluid, and then this we want tightened, so we're not going to be touching that any longer. We're only going to know if we need to add more fluid based off of if the fluid's coming out of that top hole. So this one we tightened down to 37 foot-pounds, and that one will be ready to go, and we'll start the car. If it leaks, then we'll have problems, but shouldn't leak. Now we have the job of filling up the fluid, and luckily the Civic is really easy with this. Rather than pumping in the fluid from the fill hole, we have the fill hole all the way in the engine bay already. So it is a little deep, so you are gonna have to have a long funnel, not just a tiny funnel, because it does have to reach all the way past your cold air intake. Always double check that you're pouring in CVT fluid into the transmission. We don't want to pour in any oil and make that kind of mistake. Thank God for nails. Opening this sucker up. And on the side, it does say how many quarts. There are 3.9, basically this entire thing. Oh my God, this fluid is so much clearer than the other stuff we just drained out. I never know when filling fluids, people always switch them the other way on TikToks and stuff and say it's a cleaner fluid, like the fluid comes out much smoother, but I can't ever put it in that way. I'm waiting to hear if I have any fluid leaking from the bottom, because then I know that's when it hit the fill drain plug. Hopefully my transmission runs a lot better. The difference from OEM to this fluid is that the amsoil actually is synthetic, which is way better than OEM. OEM just doesn't like to sell different products because obviously they're making more money on if you buy OEM fluid. So it has been tested and proven that amsoil fluid is like way better for these transmissions. So definitely trusting amsoil with this one, because they're one of the top leading oil and fluid companies that there is out there. Whew. We're gonna go through the whole thing. I'm gonna check to make sure none is leaking out. We have zero leakage right now out of the top check plug. Oh, I hear it. I hear it hitting the pan underneath, so that means we're full. Maybe I'll pour it in just to each double check. You're water falling out of that plug now. So that should be plenty good. I did clean up this tag. This tag was like completely covered in black gunk to where you couldn't even see the lettering on it. So I did clean it up before I put it in because I'm always crazy about getting everything clean before I put it back. And then watch out where you let transmission fluid leak because it's actually more, is the word acidic than brake fluid. So it will ruin your paint. And then put this guy. It's super easy, pushed it right in. Then I got that plug back in there, pushed all the way in. You can see it clear as day. Like it's super easy to find in the engine bay because it's white against all these black plastic pieces. I'm going to put this bolt back into that like fill plug, and then we're gonna run the transmission and then check it again. I got transmission fluid on my hands. Gross. Inside the Civic, and I'm gonna quickly start it up and switch through every single one of the gears nice and slowly. Listen for any noises, double check for any leaks, and make sure she's all good, and then take her for a test drive after that. But that will right away tell us if we have any issues or if we did the fluid flush correctly. I'm gonna check for leaks real quick. Looks good so far. And obviously the engine's very cold, so I'm not gonna rev it or do anything dumb. Let it warm up for a second. And then I'm just gonna put my foot on the brakes all the way down and shift through the gears. We're just shifting through all the gears so we know all the fluid is getting to every single one. I mean, right off the bat, it doesn't make like a clunk every time I shift. It feels so smooth. And I'm just doing it 2 times over just to be sure she's getting all lubed up, just how we like her. You never want anything to be dried when you're driving a vehicle. And then it should be good. Turn her off. And I'll check again. No leaks. That's what we love to see. Okay, now I'm gonna put this under tray back on. And then all of these clips, just a half turn. This car works.
Hey.
All right, once that tray is on, that completes our full transmission fluid change. And I'm excited to drive her once I get the brakes done. And I'm also gonna be doing a brake fluid flush because I'm just the kind of person that likes to do everything at once. Make my life easier while it's still all jacked up.